What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're back with some more r/ProRevenge. I've been really enjoying these ones just lately. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it all really helps this channel out. A huge thank you to the members of our channel. You are truly appreciated. You truly inspire me to keep going. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from PJ Expat, the story on how I got promoted to Director of Sales and Sales Recruitment. I've been with my current employer for many years now. Even though I've quit, I've come back to them. My company also has an incentive. If an employee comes up with a way to do business better or changes something that has a net benefit to the company, they get a percent of the increased revenue/profit. Over the years with this company, I had several major impacts. Well, about a year ago, I was talking to a senior level manager, let's call him Bob, and Bob was telling me about how the company is having an issue in recruitment and hiring of new talent for our sales division. Now, I had been in sales before and knew the pitfalls of our structure created and why senior reps would excel and junior reps would get crushed, and had a really good idea on our turnover challenges. Then one night I had an idea of how to change the sales structure of our company, almost entirely, which would still retain our senior reps, but also make it easier for younger, more junior reps to find success and stability, by a result reducing turnover. I spent a good amount of time designing this plan before I ever presented it to anyone, since this was Bob's area or expertise. After many revisions and bouncing it around my head, I called Bob and I presented my idea to Bob. Bob liked it a lot, however he had a few minor tweaks and he brought up concerns company executives would have. I tweaked the plan and came up with rebuttals to those objections and shared my plan with Bob. I did this several times. I would say though, my plan stayed about 90% original. Bob had been with our company for decades at this point, and I've known him for my entire time, so I trusted Bob would be sure to credit me. Considering my name was all over the presentation I sent over to Bob, I expected Bob to share in the love with me, should there be any. I felt like I needed Bob as an ally to make my idea work, which is why I brought him in on my plan. I followed up with Bob and he basically made it seem like my idea was rejected, that the company was going to keep on doing what it's always done. Okay, fine. Whatever, shit happens, it's not the first time my idea has been rejected. Cue a few months later and our new fiscal year is starting and our CEO calls everyone to a company-wide meeting. And as I sit down to watch, I witness our CEO praise Bob for coming up with a brilliant new sales structure, strategy and compensation plan. It is my plan, with my name removed. The CEO is gushing over how wonderful this idea is and how he thinks it will benefit us greatly. I'm fucking fuming pissed Bob stole my work, put his name on it and took credit. He violated my trust and lied to me. He told me the company had rejected the idea, yet here I am watching my company implement my idea. I get on the phone with my VP and let loose. Now my VP, let's call him Tim, is a really good guy and I trust him. Tim is taken back, says that right around the time I presented my plan to Bob, Bob started presenting to senior management and it was almost immediately considered a great idea. In fact, Bob knew the company was considering forcing him into retirement because they felt Bob was holding the company back and the company needed to make a change, and this idea saved Bob's job. Now, to give you an overview of how in depth my plan was: completely restructured compensation plan, completely change of how we present ourselves to new potential hires, completely changed our sales training to be more focused on real world realities, refine the sales order process to reduce workload and streamline. Did all that using current infrastructure. Each step included suggestions on how to implement the change. Bob oversaw all this in his current role. I then asked if I could prove that it was my idea, that I had presented it to Bob, and so forth. Now, Bob and I had discussed this over email and Facebook Messenger and another chat app. I went through our emails, Facebook Messenger and chat app and took screenshots, created a PowerPoint, makes it so easy to present ideas, and sent it to my VP. 2 days later, my VP called and said I needed to go into a conference call with HR, my VP and the CEO. In that meeting we discussed the plan I had created, the collaboration I had done with Bob and my plan to implement it. Not only that I presented the research that I had done, Bob did not have access to, and justified why my idea was a good idea, the CEO seemed impressed with what I had done and convinced that I was the true creator. I was then asked what I thought had happened, and I straight up accused Bob of stealing my idea and removing my name from it in an attempt to further his career. I was told they would be having a separate meeting with Bob, and after that they would inform me of any future changes. A week later my VP called me and asked if I was offered the chance to implement my plan, would I be willing to do that. This was obviously a promotion, and I said of course. 2 weeks later I get a call from my VP telling me he's coming to my location to visit me. He also tells me I should make sure I look sharp and presentable. I tried to figure out why he was coming, but he wouldn't say. 2 days later, I come into the office, check my email. Now all big retirement/resignations are announced company-wide. I see an email stating that Bob has retired. What I found strange is the retirement date was effective immediately, and that his replacement would be announced shortly. Generally, there is a time period for a takeover to happen. The replacement is announced in the email, along with a brief overview of their qualifications. The time for my VP to show up comes, and in walks my VP and the CEO. We go out to lunch, and the CEO says, "PJ, I came to visit you because I always think it's best to give people major promotions the news in person. But I'd like to offer you the position of Director of Sales and Sales Recruitment and put you in charge of implementing your idea." To which I accepted naturally. Then I asked, "Is this why Bob, retired?" To which the CEO smiled and said, "After talking to you and talking to Bob and discussing it among senior management, it was decided that it was time for a change, time to inject new blood into our organisation, and Bob really wanted to start his retirement, so it was best for everyone." I smiled and said thank you. I know perfectly well Bob intended on working until the day he died. I think the guy should have just literally shouted out in that meeting though, that company-wide meeting where he saw his idea was being implemented by Bob. I think he should have just stood up and said, "Bullshit, Bob, you stole my idea." That's crazy though. I don't know how people like Bob think they can get away with that kind of stuff. It just blows my mind how someone can have the gall to stand up there and think, "Yeah, this is my idea," while probably staring at you in the eyes thinking, "Yeah, I'm ripping this guy off." What the hell, man? Our next story comes from RR Info. The Karen that breeds minion Karens. This all happened around Christmas/New Year's, but I just found this sub and I'm obsessed with it now, so I have to give it my story. My grandparents immigrated to Canada from Italy in the 70s and opened up a restaurant. When they passed away, the restaurant went to my parents. Over the decades, they grew and expanded it. I've been working at the restaurant since I was 15. Over time, my parents got older and eventually retired, becoming snowbirds, go to Florida for the winters. They left the restaurant to me a few years ago, but still retaining a small percent ownership as additional revenue stream, along with their savings and annuities. Soon I gained control. I pretty much modernised the old place, remodeled the restaurant, changed the logo, reached out to local and national papers to put out ads, invited food critics, bloggers, vloggers, etc. It was very slow at first, and I began to worry that the loan I took out to do all this was the biggest mistake I've ever done, and I ruined 3 generations of my family's business. But eventually, it began to work, and a local semi-famous YouTube featured us in one of his videos, and that was the catalyst for more people to come and review, and eventually we were seeing 5 to 10 times the business we usually get, even if it's a Monday. We became a hotspot for major events, and it wasn't uncommon for a celebrity to come. On those nights I even arranged for special high-profile chefs to visit and cook for our guests. It cost a fortune. So during the holidays we were beyond packed. It got to the point where people have had to make reservations in July to get a table in December. This process took years to get where we are now. When it gets busy, I don't sit in the back office. I'm on the floor doing whatever needed to be done, even if that means I greet people, bussing tables, or even mopping floors. Other nights when we have high profile guests or events, I'm in a blazer and acting in charge though. On one night a group of 6 women walk in. 5 of them look like they're in their early 20s, and the head of group looked like she was in her mid 20s. Best theory, she's one of the 4 girls' older sister, or possibly an older sorority sister to incoming college freshmen maybe. I was greeting at the door. As they were walking up, Queen Bee Karen was telling the baby Karens on how this place is awesome, food is amazing, and there might even be celebrities here. When she came up to me, she told me she needed a table for 6. I replied, "Of course, can I get the name on the reservation?" She looked at me and said, "Oh, I didn't make one, but it's okay, the owner is a personal friend of mine. He said he always has 1 or 2 tables he keeps open for special guests and said we can have one of those tonight." Now generally this is true of many high profile restaurants, and lately I have been doing that as well, but I had no clue who this woman was, and she definitely never spoke to me about any of this. I did get that she was trying to get in without a reservation, but she literally picked the worst person she could possibly talk to and try this. I told her, "I'm sorry, but we cannot seat anyone without a reservation. As you can see, we do not have any seats available." I didn't want to go all out and say I'm the owner and we've never spoke before, so I've never promised you a thing, but I didn't want to embarrass her with the other girl she was with. At first. She then went on and said out loud to one of the other girls to take a picture of me. She would speak to the owner and make sure I'm either cleaning the toilet or fired by the end of the week. The other girls following her lead were like, "Yeah, kiss your minimum wage job goodbye." I'm not sure if they were in on it with her, or they honestly thought she knew the owner. Queen Bee Karen then went on and said, "Look, you can just give us a table or I can make life very difficult for you. This is not worth losing your job." Constantly pointing, trying to put me down, saying things like, "Obviously you aren't here, because if you were, you know who I am," and never even tried to tell me anything other than yes or of course. Constantly trying to belittle me and get that table. At this point it was a long day for me, and the way I saw it, I had 3 options. Number 1, tell her I'm the owner and just call her out on all of this. Number 2, just give her a table and let it be. Number 3, teach Queen Bee Karen and her little minions a lesson. I chose option 3 for various reasons, including some personality flaws that I am aware that I have, but I like to think at least 50% really wanted to teach her a lesson. I smiled at her and said, of course mum, please follow me, and I gave her one of 3 tables we keep open in case a celebrity comes in. Happens time to time. I told her I apologised for everything, and she is right, it would be simpler just to give her a table. I also told her that the first 3 rounds of drinks will be completely complimentary. I sat them down and personally served them. As they were sitting down, I told them we need to do one of your credit cards and IDs just to keep on file, and we'll give it back to you before you leave. Queen Karen gave me her cards and told the baby Karen minions that tonight was on her. I took their orders and got them free drinks and told them due to how busy we are tonight there might be a delay on food. All the girls were thinking and cared about were their 3 rounds. They ordered their 3 rounds and still no food. They eventually called me and asked me to check on it, the whole time giving me the world's most nasty attitude since even before they ordered. I told them I would check on it, but also asked if they would like any more drinks. They ordered 2 more rounds by the time the appetizers arrived. At this point, they are all drunk, having done nothing but drink on an empty stomach most of the night and having salads after. As more food arrives, the more drinks are ordered. What these girls never realised was that they are at our VIP table, which alone cost a few thousand just to sit in, but I didn't charge them for that. What I did charge them for was all the super expensive cocktails they had through the whole night, except for the first 3 rounds. In addition to the table they were sitting in, as mentioned was VIP, so the menus were a bit different. For one, they don't say the prices on them, trade secret, and in addition has certain higher end menu options such as white truffle, black caviar dishes, and specially imported West Coast oysters, among other things. At one point in the night I was honestly rethinking what I was doing and thought I might be going too far with these poor girls, that they might not know any better, but some things reassured me throughout the night. Such as, one of the baby Karens asked me if I felt like my life was worthless, since all I ever became was a waiter. Also, one of my employees told me that they were discussing how to fuck with me, to the point when they can just do this whenever they want, and will know I will always give them a table. I also overheard them say, he's cute but I would never date a waiter like that, he's such a pushover. There were a bunch of comments like that the whole night, so I kept on with their life lesson. By the end of the night, each girl racked up a bill in the range of $500 to $600 per girl. When I handed Queen Karen the bill of $4,232.23, with tax and tip included of course, I've never seen anyone sober up so quickly. She went from laughing and giggling with her friends to nearly in tears. She called me over instantly and asked if it was some kind of joke. I took the bill, looked over and said, oh yes, I apologise, I will get you the correct bill in a moment. Again, she felt like a complete sense of relief thinking she had got someone else's bill, called me a fucking idiot, and went on to talk to her friends. To be fair, I did make a mistake. I did forget to count our 8th order of a dozen oysters that cost about $120 per order, so I gladly went back and added it to the order. When I went back to give her the correct bill, she flipped out again, going crazy. I just asked if there was something on this bill that she didn't order. She and the girls in shock go over every single line of the bill, including the first few lines that show the original 3 drinks that say complimentary. They took out their phones and line by line went over everything, line by line, for the 100th time, adding everything up. Extremely rattled, Queen Bee's Karen simply said, 1 second, I need to use the washroom. Part of me thought that she might just pull a dine and dash and leave the baby Karens with a bill, but kinda low key, I did in a way remind her that we had her ID and CC. Without making it obvious, I thought she was going to run out on the bill. 10 minutes later she comes back with new makeup, obviously she'd been crying, and makes up a whole story on how the food was awful, the drinks were bad and so on, demanding that as a bare minimum I should cut the bill in half, with the agreement the baby Karens will chip in, even though she originally told them the night would be on her. Then as if a light bulb went off in her head, she mentioned her relationship with the owner, as if it would give me some additional incentive to cut the bill in half. Holding back a grin at this point, I told her no, just no, I can't change the bill. She whips out her phone and shows me a series of texts with someone called my restaurant's name owner, which pretty much I realised what she was doing in the bathroom, just probably changed one of the other Karen's minions' contact name and deleted previous texts to start this new script. I read them and clicked on the contact info and told her that's not the owner's cell number. Her reply was, he has multiple phones for business and stuff, of course you don't know all his numbers. I remember, wow, this girl thought of everything, except I'm the actual owner. I told her, how about this, if we call him and say it's okay to take 50% off the bill, then I'll do it. Her reply was yelling and screaming over the time, where the few remaining customers all began to start looking, and I knew, okay, time to end this. I told her already in a less accommodating voice, cut the crap little girl, you don't know the owner, you've never been here before, and if you keep yelling I will call the police. Her demeanour changed, and she was trying to defend herself the best she could. My reply to her weak comeback was, "My grandparents founded this restaurant. My family has been running this place for generations. I worked there almost my entire life. I am the one and only owner of this restaurant, and I have never once seen you, heard of you, and I definitely never made a stranger I don't know, and I've never met before deny any promises." The mini Karens were just frozen and didn't know how to react. Queen Bee Karen was in tears. I said, "Now I gave you the table you wanted, one of your specially reserved table for high-end clients, which I didn't charge you for, and I gave you 3 rounds of drinks. If you don't pay your bill, I will call the cops and hand them your ID." In tears, Queen Karen signed the bill, and the mini Karens took out their purses to give whatever cash they had, which equaled to maybe a couple of hundred, with a promise to pay her back some more. 2 days later, a man walks into my restaurant fuming and asked one of my bartenders to speak to me. I was in the back office for a bit working, so he waited a good half an hour for me. He was Queen Bee Karen's father. She was with him too, keeping her head down. I took them both into my office and showed them the highlights of the security camera, which was especially good quality of audio because they were in the VIP, which we had good records of because we had other unrelated incidents before. So I showed him most of it, their comments, their orders, their everything. When all was said and done, he stormed out with her and was screaming at her the whole time they were walking away. Haven't seen or heard from them since, but the original bill I gave them, the one that didn't count the $120 oysters, is framed on my desk. Side note, I didn't lose much overhead on the table and 3 rounds as you might think. The table was originally supposed to be empty, so I didn't lose anything since I didn't expect to gain anything to begin with, and the overhead for the food and other drinks more than covered the loss of 3 first rounds. I thought about posting this on Nuclear Revenge, but I read some of the stories there, and I think making this girl pay a few $1,000s to give her a life lesson doesn't qualify, and some of the life there is life-ending revenge stories, and losses in the tens or hundreds of thousands. Wow, that was an epic story, an epic long story, but I'm glad she got what she deserved in the end. Treating people like trash, and then getting it handed back to you. Fuck you, Queen Bee Karen. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed these stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And a huge thank you for being here today. It is truly, truly appreciated.